Even though Sri Lanka is a small country, we have some of the largest manufacturing, top brand providing corporates who are getting more of Citi's products and solutions.
Citi is present in over 100 countries. I don't know any other bank has that kind of a reach globally, which actually brings in a lot of global products to the network, to our clients.
From Citi's point of view, the governments are also very important. One thing is from the regulatory point of view, for us to implement new products. So we need the regulators' support.
Hello, you're with Echelon. Multinational Citibank's Sri Lankan unit has been operating here for several decades. And the unit's Sri Lankan leadership team is here in the studio with us to discuss how Citi has stayed relevant during a phase of rapid volatility in Sri Lanka's economy. We'd like to welcome Kavinda Zoysa, who is Director and Country Business Head of Citi. Also, we have Dilshan Seneviratne. Dilshan is Director and Head of Treasury and Trade Solutions at Citi. And we have Saneth Gamage. Saneth is Director and Country Markets Head at Citi. Gentlemen, welcome to Echelon. We'll start with you, Kavinda. Over the last several years, Sri Lanka has been through a slightly bumpy ride. The economy has certainly been through a bumpy ride, right? What does this mean for Citibank's largest customers in Sri Lanka? How have their needs changed when we hit these headwinds as a country?
Sure. Thanks, Shamindra, for having us. It's an absolute pleasure. Let's take a step back. Most of you have heard of Citibank. Few thoughts to share. Citi is over 200 years old, approximately 212 years. And we are probably the most global bank. So we have over 100 countries and jurisdictions. And what we have seen over especially the last 4 years, is our corporates and multinationals. We all know what Sri Lanka went through and the crisis. In that sense, that's where we stepped up to support our clients. And it goes down to the very, very basics. Starting from liquidity, supporting continuity of business. We must not forget, it's not BAU what we were going through. It was a very, very tough, challenging period. We had fuel queues, we had power cuts. And in the midst of all of that, our clients...
BAU is business as usual.
Yes.
Right. Go.
Our clients wanted to have their businesses running despite all these challenges. And I know Dilshan and Saneth would agree. I think we are very happy to say we kept the bank running every day during that period to meet the basic requirements of clients. And we were able to provide them, keep them going. At that point, the most important thing was dollar liquidity. I'm sure Saneth and Dilshan will cover that. But we were able to ensure that each of our clients at least was able to run their business without stopping. So I think the demands and the requirements evolve. Dilshan will touch on digitization. It's something that's very strong on the bank and our clients. So clients really want to get on to that. And just before the crisis, we had the pandemic. And most of our clients who were banking with us were actually ready to face the pandemic. Because you and I, if you take, most of our clients were used to doing a lot of things on paper. You need to be able to give the paper, get the signatures, and then all of a sudden you have a lockdown. So the demands, the requirements evolved and changed, and I think Citi was there to support our clients.
So Dilshan, this is like a perfect time to bring you in. Kavinda was talking about digitization and how potentially the pandemic accelerated this. We've seen in banking, whether it be corporate or consumer, fast push towards digitization. Consumers now expect to be doing everything on this device, right?
Yeah.
I think your corporate clients will also want an update to see their dashboards on this device and none other. What does that mean for Citi, and how is Citi kind of set up to deliver the dashboards, the experience that your corporate clients also now demand, even in a market like Sri Lanka?
Yeah, so I think technology over the last few years have reshaped the financial landscape in a big way, actually. And there are several ways in which the technology has reshaped the financial industry. One is the operational efficiency and automation. So technology has significantly enhanced the operational efficiency by automating routine transactions like transaction processing, even regular reporting. Actually have made it very efficient, and banks have minimized the manual errors and deliver a service improvement. And Citi also, during the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic challenges that we went through due to the fuel shortages and which actually restricted the mobility, came up with remote banking services. Right. So, and as well as cybersecurity is a very key, important aspect with the more and more transactions go online, where banks are required to have, even clients required to have robust cybersecurity measures in their day-to-day operations. So Citi has provided all these requirements to clients especially during the crisis as well as during the pandemic, to enable clients to continue with their business operations. Even like Kavinda mentioned, we did not stop our operations even for a day, because we enabled all our clients to transact digitally without depending on manual transactions, and physical documents were not actually required for them to do the transaction. So Citi in Sri Lanka, I would say currently we are 100% on digitization in cash as well as in trade transactions, which enable all the clients to freely carry out their businesses without having any impact due to all these challenges.
Sure. I'll bring you in, Kavinda, before Saneth, right? One more question. I mean, you have as clients both some of Sri Lanka's largest companies, right? Particularly ones who transact in foreign currency and are exposed to exports and imports, right? The government is also a client of sorts. The government of Sri Lanka is a client of sorts of Citi. Can you talk to us about how the recent economic situation in the country has impacted or altered your relationship with these key segments of clients?
Sure. So let's take a step back, and as you rightly said, we'll explain the type of clients that we have. So we are organized we have the financial institutions group. So actually the local banks, the state banks, they bank with us, and we are supporting international trade, foreign exchange solutions, equity markets, debt markets, advisory over since 79. And if you take the last 20 to 30 years, we've been also bringing thought leadership on investment banking and giving new solutions to our clients. And as you rightly said, so we have financial institutions, we have top tier local corporates, we have the multinationals, and we have the public sector. So the government is also a client with Citi, and we have been working with them over a couple of decades. And we are also part of the sovereign advisory team representing Standard & Poor's. Saneth knows it very well. We have been working with them on international debt capital market access, and we've been giving solutions on new thoughts as well. The needs are evolving. One point I wanted to touch, what Dilshan was also covering on the digitization side, was also during the last 5 to 10 years, we have seen our corporates grow. It's really, satisfying to say, you see a local corporate establishing and running additional manufacturing facilities, service facilities in other markets of the world. And that's where Citi steps in, because through our global network, they are able to connect and get the same type of products and solutions and the same relationship management coverage to meet their needs, which has actually intensified in a very positive way, because globally we have a lot of people coming into Sri Lanka, and we now see our key corporates and key manufacturing clients going into these markets and now becoming regional players. Even though Sri Lanka is a small country, we have some of the largest manufacturing, top brand providing
Sure.
corporates who are getting more of Citi's products and solutions. So, for an example, it is not just about the Citi relationship, right? We also have on the other side the world's largest known brands, whether it's apparel or manufacturing. They would be sourcing products, they would be sourcing manufacturing from Sri Lanka. And what we have to know is they bank with Citibank, whether it's an American client, whether it's a client who's in Latin America, whether it's a client who's in Japan, Australia. So connecting them and creating a solution and giving that advantage is something positive.
Saneth, I'll quickly bring you in to the conversation here because it's quite relevant. You head the markets business at Citi, right? Discuss with us what the markets business is and how it relates to the four types of, broadly, four buckets of clients that we were talking just now about.
So talking about the markets business, and at Citigroup, market business is a very key component, right? One of the major businesses. So we are operating more than 100 countries, and we service, as Kavinda mentioned, corporates, governments, and institutional investors.
Right.
So the markets team is divided into few components because this is a specialized area. We have foreign exchange, rates, markets treasury, commodities, and equities. So in Sri Lanka, given that Sri Lanka is a developing market, we are focusing on the first three, that's rates, foreign exchange, and markets treasury. So for us to service these clients, we need to have a developed market. So still, if you compare with other countries like India or Singapore or UK, we are just walking. So we have some basic products here, but we try to bring in sophisticated product when there's a necessity and when the client interests are more advanced. So what we do here is like we look at developing the market. So how do we develop the market, right? It's creating liquidity. Right? If you don't create liquidity, we can't develop a market. So one thing what we do is we create liquidity. We closely work with the regulator, how to bring in certain products into the market. That's how we can then service our clients and look at on a piecemeal basis on clients what their necessities are and mitigate their risk. So when it comes to clients, right, we just provide them with basic vanilla products like foreign exchange, cash, spot, forward, and also maybe certain interest rate solutions, right? If there's no. So, but there are specific clients where they are sophisticated clients, right? So for them, we need to have a tailor-made solution. So that's where we pitch in.
So when you say sophisticated clients, which of those four categories do these sophisticated clients usually fall into?
Yeah, mainly these multinationals. I will categorize as sophisticated clients because they are operating in different countries, right? Then institutional investors. They are big investors, right? So they are exposed to bigger markets and they are familiar with the products. So those are the two clients that we are talking about, that who are sophisticated and who will ask for sophisticated solutions.
Sure.
Shamindra, just to add to Saneth, I think what we have to remember is, Citi is actually probably the largest investment in Sri Lanka. And we also drive conversations on FDI and investments where, let's say, a large corporate wants to come into the country. Commencing conversations on doing business in Sri Lanka, connecting them to the relevant authorities, the government, the central bank. So Citi also wants to drive the Sri Lanka story. And if you take over the last few years, it's in the press. If you take the largest IT companies coming into the country, let's say the largest developments that's taking place and where you have international partners coming in, Citi has always been in the forefront. And one of the things that our clients, especially, on the digitization side with Dilshan and his team, market side, Saneth and his teams, is that we have positioned ourselves as a trusted advisor. We are not just a plain vanilla banker.
Sure.
So what we want to do is always think of client and client's best interest. And we have tried our very best, even during the crisis, to tell the client the absolute truth. Sometimes it's not easy, right? When you have something hard and when you say this is not the right solution or this is not the way forward, initially people would say this is what I want, but then we would give different perspectives and say, in the broader scheme of things, we feel this is the solution that can help you. And over the years, the relationships we have, these are 30, 40-year relationships which have positioned Citi to be as a trusted advisor to the client. That really sort of like resonates, because we have conversations with sophisticated clients, clients who are very knowledgeable and tech savvy. We have to give them content so that they realize that this is a solution that they need.
And Kavinda, if you can remember correct, right, during the crisis, there was a huge liquidity issue on foreign exchange,
Yes,
right?
of course.
You knew, right? So Citi, being operating in so many countries, and this is for Citi, this is not a new thing. We are exposed to these type of things in different countries. So we managed to bring in some solutions to our clients, but it was at a cost. But we managed to give them some liquidity through these sophisticated products. So that's how we serviced our clients, and actually we built a good name among our clients by doing those things.
Just to add to what Kavinda mentioned, actually, our biggest strength, Shamindra, is the network. Citi is present in over 100 countries. I don't know any other bank has that kind of a reach globally, which actually brings in a lot of global products to the network, to our clients, as Kavinda also mentioned, primarily to our multinational clients. Wherever they go, they want to bank with Citi. So the network is the biggest advantage that Citi has. And that actually gives the advantage where we can give global products to our local clients as well. Primarily in the liquidity space, we have global liquidity management as well as supply financing programs, which is very critical even for clients who go through challenges, the economic challenges that we went through, even when the US is going through a difficult situation where most of the buyers are there. Our clients look for protection, where Citi can actually bring in that solutions through the global products. So that's one of the main advantages that Citi has, our network.
And just to add what Dilshan said just now, right, we don't work in silos. Now, the three businesses, we work together. Similarly, in the product groups who are offshore, we work very closely. So it's easy for us to reach out to our clients, and we go with a common goal. So
your team is closely connected to the markets teams across the region, directly and easy.
Yes.
And locally on ground, we work collaboratively. So when we go and meet clients, we offer all the solutions. Not only Saneth goes and offers market products, and I go and offer transaction banking. Likewise, we all go as a team, which actually makes a big difference to the clients, because we bring all the solutions to the client stable at the same time.
Kavinda was highlighting, Saneth, how Citi has had a trajectory that's closely aligned with Sri Lanka's growth path and has been part of bringing large investments. When large investments come, they usually work with Citi. You have all highlighted that the government of Sri Lanka is also an important stakeholder or a customer, if at all, with Citi. I mean, it leaves you wondering how, what does the government of Sri Lanka do with Citi?
Yeah, so government, from Citi's point of view, the governments are also very important. One thing is from the regulatory point of view, for us to implement new products. So we need the regulator support, right? So government is very important in our business. Mainly, for example, look at Sri Lanka, when they want to borrow funds to the country, right? We had the reach to go into large investors and get whatever the funds to Sri Lanka, right? And also we have the ability to provide them with different products, what is suitable for this.
So are you referring here to the international sovereign bonds Sri Lanka has issued in the past, or the rupee denominated bills and bonds?
We can talk about sovereign bonds as well. If the government wants to borrow, then you have to borrow in dollar terms or foreign currency, any other currency, right? So sovereign bond is one of the products, the instruments that we use to borrow funds to the country. And also there are loan syndications, right? So these are short-term loans, maybe tenor of around 2 to 3 years, right? So there are different way of borrowing. The rupee denominated bond is another product where when the government wants to borrow in domestic currency, then that's the instrument that they use for, right? So what we did there is we brought in investors to Sri Lanka who were interested in investing in rupee denominated bills and bonds,
right?
Because of the high yield. Because if you compare with other countries, our yields were higher at that time. So there were a lot of interest. So those were the two products.
So were you a significant player in this area, Saneth?
Yeah. So just to go a few years back, we started, we saw this opportunity in 2003. It wasn't open to the global market at that time. So we were looking at this opportunity and we were just interacting with a few offshore investors, their pulse on Sri Lanka. So we saw some sort of interest, and we were also expecting that the regulator will also change their policies and so forth in the near future. So 2007, when they opened it out, then we managed to bring in institutional investors to the country, and our processes were also set up at that time. So it was easier for us to do it.
Sure.
Shaminda, just to add, when you were talking about, we are also very much involved in the ESG space and
environmental, social, and governance.
So we have worked with international agencies to bring solutions and new thought processes. So we've been working with the relevant agencies and the relevant government stakeholders. Do you know what is a blue bond? So green bonds and blue bonds are for environmental conservation. End of the day, the end use of those funds. So the blue bond is actually for coral reservation and protection, right? And the green bonds are obviously it's going for a cleaner environment, which Sri Lanka is very conscious despite the crisis that we had. So while the ESG angle is there, we have clearly seen that it also brings a saving it gives a better pricing and a solution. So new thoughts and ideas are being showed and shared. And one of the other areas which we did, Dilshan may touch on that, is on export credit agency financing, where we have worked with international agencies and channeled funds for microfinance. So we are an institutional corporate bank. But the end use of funds is we will lend it to a financial institution which can actually ensure that the funds go to the neediest SME, MSME type of sector. And just a thought, right? The end use of these funds have some really interesting points. Women empowerment. Let's say if it's only the mother is there, she's the sole breadwinner. What these type of segments are also channeled, and financing is touching some of these segments, which actually helps to uplift Sri Lanka as well. I mean, today poverty elevation is something that's been spoken of, and we have seen international agencies taking part, and I think that's an area where we can see further growth in the future once Sri Lanka gets to the next phase.
Dilshan, Kavinda is talking about him. He mentioned the work you're doing with export development. Helping Sri Lankan companies go overseas. Can you expand on that? How does that fit into the business model, and what have you been doing in that space?
Yeah, so export credit agencies is quite large in most of the other countries,
Sure.
The US, the Europe, even Japan, where they actually support the exports from those countries to other countries. So Citi has programs with all these large export credit agencies in those countries, especially in the OECD countries. So Citi has programs with these countries where we actually leverage if there are large importers in Sri Lanka for capital expenditure projects, large imports from these countries. What we do is we liaise with those export agencies in those,
overseas.
Yes. And then actually based on the credit approvals that we have in place for long tenor, usually the domestic credits are for short-term transactions, but these kind of large-scale projects go for 10, 15 years actually. So it's very difficult to approve credit facilities on the financials of the other client, which is the importer. However, for these kind of imports, we have long tenor lines approved. And we can actually give a lot of liquidity from out of Singapore and Hong Kong and London for these clients to facilitate the import of for these projects. So especially in the telecom, power sector, even water purification, we have in the past actually have supported our clients to get the export credit agency financing.
So Saneth, for instance, besides accessing the export credit agency lines, you also have to, I suppose, help your clients here to sort of mitigate the risks associated, particularly if they don't have foreign currency inflows to match credit they take in foreign currency. Is that also like a package or a role that the bank has played in the past?
Yeah. So it depends from client to client. Certain clients, they will want to keep their exposures. They don't want to mitigate their risk, right? Because certain clients might take a view, okay, this is what's going to happen. So therefore, based on this, I don't want to do look at a solution of risk mitigating, right? And maybe the size of the exposure is very small, so they don't. And they may certain clients they may not have the proper understanding how the exposure. So this is where we are coming into, right? We have to then, what we do is we educate the client. Okay, these are the exposures that you are exposed to. So these are the ways and means of mitigating your risk. And based on that, the client's need, we will provide them certain solutions, maybe vanilla type products, or maybe based on the client's exposure, we might have to look at a more sophisticated kind of a solution. So this is where we pitch in.
Right. Dilshan, can I ask you about, what can, for instance, I mean, Sri Lanka is now resetting its economy is on a now a faster growth path because fundamentally we've altered, the factor markets, reforms are being done, right? From your vantage point, from Citibank's vantage point, when you look at what's happened in banking in Southeast Asia, what do you think we can anticipate, given the changing nature of Sri Lanka's landscape, that can also be happening in Sri Lanka in the next 5 years, even longer time period?
I think there are several lessons that we can take from Southeast Asia as well as India. I would say one is the rapid adoption of digital transformation. These countries have experienced a significant increase in digital banking and payment solutions, driven primarily by the high rates of mobile penetration as well as young tech-savvy population. So in these countries like Sri Lanka and similar countries with similar demographics can actually expect a significant increase in digital adoption. And secondly, I think what is very important is the financial inclusion. You asked Saneth earlier how Citi is dealing with the government of Sri Lanka as well. One of the most significant impacts of digital transformation is improved financial inclusion. Mobile banking, QR codes, digital wallets actually have brought financial services to unbanked and underbanked population in these countries, right? And so that's one of the other things that we can expect. The most important thing is the regulatory adaptation. The governments in these countries have adopted regulatory frameworks that support digital finance. And that underscores the need for the regulatory bodies to be agile and supportive of the financial developments which we are actually experiencing in the world.
Also, just to add what Dilshan said, right, the importance of digitization is like, see, now, currently, if you look at the current generation, they want to work with a technology. Right. So now we have Gen Zs, right? Then Gen Alpha, right? For them, like Gen Alpha, they'll be high tech. So we have to cater to those markets, right? So that's where Citigroup is heading towards.
Kavinda, again, you also have that vantage point, right? You've seen what's happened in high growth markets in Southeast Asia over the last 15 or 20 years. You can look at Citi's particular experience in these markets, where it has some big businesses in places like, Singapore, even in neighboring India, right? What can we anticipate and learn from what happened in those markets, which are maybe some of them are a good 20 years ahead of us, others aren't so far ahead. What can we learn, you think?
So I think the main thing is touching on both what Dilshan and Saneth said was, there's a lot of disruption happening in the industry.
Right.
So the fintech disruption has happened at such a pace that the entire ecosystem and the models are different. So today you don't need to own a car. You can get about using a ride-hailing app.
The sharing economy, they call it.
The sharing economy. And then if you take the ecosystem, especially of Alibaba, from where they started to where they are, they have a complete digital ecosystem which meets and which has come into the traditional banking foray as well. So as banks, I think we have been in the forefront of looking at new solutions and also collaborating and driving force in this area. So I think that's one area that can happen, and obviously it's going to really accelerate. And then we obviously touch the second point. I mean, the brick and mortar type of banking will actually totally move away with Gen Zs and Gen Alphas coming in. I don't think any of us go to a bank to do our banking, and then everything gets on to the smart wallet and then to the smart watch, and those will create instant efficiencies. And with that, we will come out of a society which was traditionally depending on paper. And if you take countries like, as you know, the neighboring country India, they have digitized to an extent that almost everything is paperless. It also helps the government because that helps to improve, obviously based on recommendations, the tax system. All of us know we need to improve the tax system. That the digitization will also give benefits on those areas. And then, again, going back to things like inclusion, the people having access to banking, because today, I mean, our mobile penetration, everyone has a mobile phone. And I think very, very soon, everyone will have a smartphone. So the statistics will help out, really show that the evolution and the way traditional banking is going to be totally disrupted. Another thought process is, what we all hear is AI, right? And AI is going to disrupt the way the learning curve that's happening is, personally for me, I thought certain things will take 10 years to happen. But in my view, after, taking part in some global forums, I feel that can actually accelerate to maybe 3 to 4 years. So what we take for granted today might be a completely different way of doing things. And, what we did 10 years or 20 years ago is very different from now. But I think it's going to be exciting and dynamic. And obviously, as we discussed, Citi being a global bank is in the foray of this. So, we are present in over 100 countries. And we have been through countries which has been through financial crisis, countries which are coming out of it, and the trajectory. When you come out of a crisis, the opportunities that create, there are learnings and products and solutions that we can bring in much faster so that it can also benefit the people and the corporates.
Just to add to what Kavinda mentioned, we can't do this by ourselves, right? So partnerships and collaborations are very important, especially in the digitization space. We have to partner, the traditional banks have to partner fintech companies and technology providers to be successful, which is what Citi is currently doing. We have Citi Ventures, where we partner with fintech companies in the States and come up with all these new, very innovative digitized products and roll out right throughout the globe. So to Kavinda's point, why Citi is so successful is because we have not been doing these things on our own. The partnerships and collaborations play a pivotal role in this journey.
I suppose your partnerships in Southeast Asia and places where, some countries like even India, where
especially in India,
moving towards very much being cashless at such a rapid pace.
That's one lesson that actually we can learn from the other countries. Sri Lanka is a bit slow on partnerships with the fintech companies and the technology providers.
5 years ago, India wasn't seen as a model in this space. Today, they are a leader.
Now everybody has a QR code in India. It's a cashless society. They're moving to a cashless society like China.
This has been a wonderful conversation. We covered a lot of ground. I'll ask each of you to take a minute and share any final thoughts before we wrap up. I'll start with you, Saneth.
Yeah. So I think from the country's point of view, Sri Lanka has done a great job to come out from this crisis. Right. I have been in this industry for the last 26 years, and I hope these consistent policies will continue without taking any U-turns. So if we continue with this current trend, I see a lot of potential for this country. And from the banking point of view, we will see a lot of opportunities. So we need to be prepared to grab these opportunities and to see how we can help the industry and help the country.
Yeah, I think by focusing on innovation and financial inclusion and by fostering partnerships and regulatory support, we can really transform digital space and create new opportunities for the underbanked population in the country.
And the last words to you, Kavinda.
And we are cautiously optimistic. We feel that there's going to be a lot of growth opportunities for Sri Lanka, and our strength is our clients and our deep relationships. I re-emphasize, we want and we are and we will continue to be a trusted advisor to our clients. And with the economy opening up, we see large global names coming into Sri Lanka. Citi is in the forefront of this. If you look at the history, those names that have come in, they have come and partnered through Citi, those investments. Already the other investments, some of the larger new investments which are appearing in the press, has come to Sri Lanka through Citi. So Citi looks forward to playing a pivotal role on driving FDI into the country and bringing great names. I don't want to give names, but if you take a Fortune 500, the top 10, top 20, top 30, one of those large names coming into the country, whether it's a component manufacturer, whether it's a supply chain partner who is providing solutions on the pharmaceutical industry, because Sri Lanka is located in a geography which is very strategic. We can access entire Southeast Asia. And we see, just take the growth rate of India. There is such a rapid growth rate. So partnerships and creating investment opportunities is something that we are very optimistic about. And on the other side, I re-emphasize, our clients who have actually gone to the region, they are actually becoming regional and global players. So continuing to support them, I think all three of us are very optimistic about the opportunities that is to come.
It's a great note to wrap this up on. Kavinda, Saneth and Dilshan. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.